why are you here today, and how important do you think that today will be in terms of achieving the MDGs at the summit in September?
I'm here because it's different, and because I just love what you guys do. That sounds like a cliche, but I do. I mean, the country doesn't know enough about this. They should be very proud of what's achieved in Britain's name. That's one. Secondly, it's an important conference because there's a very uncoordinated idea of how to get to September and the UN. And it's not, you know, all of these things require fine-tuning and thinking for them to be tangible and real. The fact that it's not reported in the press is academic. You know, the strides made in the MDGs is an extraordinary thing when you think about it, but you have to remove the acronyms. As I say, it's very boring. You have to find the words to say it. And, you know, when you have high-level discussions, really drilling down into where do you get next to, you know, it's all systems, it's all policy. Anyone who tells you it's about something else, it's policy, and how do you arrive at it?
You've mentioned America and your hope that the new administration, the Obama administration, is going to do something towards development. How do you feel about that nowadays after a year?
Well, he made a very telling paragraph in his State of the Union, which sort of excited all us mob who do this, where he was very specific that he was going to come with a plan. Now, plans great, but, you know, costed plans that have to get through the budget process is another thing. But you've got a president who gets it, who's serious about it, which is not to say, I've got to say, that Bush didn't get it. He ended up getting Africa big time, you know, and loving doing what he was doing. I don't think he necessarily accepted MDGs because it's multilateral, it's the UN, and America can never go down that route by virtue of its size. It's not a big thing, they can't be hamstrung, and the Chinese are very like that. They never join in these things. But if you have a speech by the President of the United States where he's costed out what he wants to say, there's a very good chance it's going to be done. And so America coming to the party big time in the last 5 years is a big push, you know?
All right, excellent.
So in terms of kind of youth participation, what kind of role do you think that young people as a whole have in achieving the MDGs, and what kind of advice would you give to young people who aren't necessarily politically active to get involved?
It's, you know, it's not a question of being geeky and politically, because I was when I was a kid, but I was never a geek, you know, excuse me. But it's a question of this is a bit of a wild adventure, and it's the beginning of our century. By the end of the century, you guys will be old and past it, and but you will have achieved. You know, you're allowed to make this century. This is the one bit you're allowed that you haven't inherited from my mob, and you are, because that's the gift of it. Like, you know, I mean, Enoch Powell said all political careers end in failure. Dude, all generations end in failure, you know, and it's true, because you can't estimate what's going to happen. Like all this crap about innocent victims of climate change. We're all innocent victims. We didn't know. You know, somebody suddenly says, you know, they say, oh, geez, is that what's happening? So, you know, that'll happen to you lot. But in the meantime, what you've got is this wild adventure to utterly recreate the world and create vast new businesses where you can all make millions, you know, and not other people. So that's the big one, you know. So you either want to get on that track of, you know, how do I make millions here, you know, for me and my kids, and like that fun of making money while bringing other people along the road with us, like the Chinese are doing internally and like they're doing in Africa. You know, they're not messing around, and it's not a threat. The threat is that they're making ridiculous loans to African countries, and you're starting another, possibly, you'll have another debt problem. But that aside, you know, they've got loads of young people in there who are making hay and working with the Africans. So, you know, if you're in college and you're thinking, what am I going to do? I'm telling you this now, whether you like it or not, 20 years down the track, when you're 40, you are going to be negotiating with Africans, doing mega business deals, as your parents are now with the Chinese. That's a fact. So, get in and make the world the way you want it now. If you're indifferent to that, cool. If you like sports, they've got some great sports people down there, I've got to tell you. If you're doing business, this is where it will be. So, you may not care about poverty as an issue. But by being in business, you're killing poverty and making people's lives grow. So one way or the other, that's what's happening, you know. And if you're interested in politics, this is the game. This is the real game, because, you know, soft politics has never had a more prominent place in the world today. People just don't get off anymore in threatening each other, because it doesn't work. You know, you see, if you invade a country, they can beat the crap out of you with just a couple of guns and run to the hills. You know, asymmetry is the paradigm for the 21st century, so it requires cooperation. When you have asymmetry, you need to cooperate. You need to talk to the guy with just the gun and you've got the tank, because one way or the other he'll have you. So this is the fulcrum, this is the epicenter of creating the 21st century. You might not think it, I'm telling you.
So to kind of bring it to a close, what's your ideal vision for what the MDGs will achieve? Your closing point.
Ideally what they set out to do, but you know, frankly it isn't enough, because there's a whole range of new problems coming on since the year 2000 that have suddenly hit us. And you know, there'll be accelerants for those problems. I mean, you know, you're always going to have poor people, but you know, why have an entire continent like Africa out of the economic loop, 1 billion people, 50% of whom are under 16, a continent of kids, you know, and they're all migration to the cities. So what do they want? They want stuff, you know. So here's this great business opportunity. I'm telling you, in the stews of the slums, there's going to be massive entrepreneurialism. And so you need to turn on to, what are those guys doing? You know, what's their music? What's their art? What's their clothes? You know, because it's pretty cool. So let's get done what we said we'd get done. We might fail slightly, but what's extraordinary to me, and I never believe any of these sort of plans. The truth is I never believe, oh yeah, great, okay. I kind of think it would be cool to do it, but it'll never work. But that's not true. We kind of achieved Glen Eagle, 60% so far. We might get up to 70. And it looks like we're going to get a good few of the MDGs, like well over into 60%. I'm stunned by that. But you know what they are. People watching this don't. So you have to sort of say to them what it is. And you know, when you realise that might be done, you kind of think, it seemed effortless. Did it cost anybody a job? No. Did it increase their taxes? No. And yet, what's it? Less people are dying, more fed, more businesses are made. Why didn't we do it before?